Okay. Hello, world. This is Anjanette Potter, also known as Adam's Rib. I am podcasting for my blog, Food, Sex, and Family. This particular post is going to be titled, "Is Gaining Weight a Good Excuse for a Man to Cheat?" Now, the reason that I saw a meme today based on a some celebrity gossip, you may as well say. My blogs are never about celebrities. I try to stay away from that whole atmosphere, but every so often I'll come across something that's happening in the celebrity world that prompts me to want to talk about a particular subject that I feel like it touches on. So this past week, Nicole Murphy, if you old enough to remember, who is the ex-wife of comedian Eddie Murphy, got caught kissing director Antoine Fuqua, who is known. I didn't get a chance to look up all the different film projects that he is involved in, but he's a pretty big heavy hitter in the entertainment industry in films. Now, Antoine Fuqua is married to actress Lela Rochon. Now, many of you remember Lela Rochon as the woman with the bad feet in Eddie Murphy's movie Boomerang. She also played Robin in Waiting to Exhale, as well as being Sunshine in Eddie Murphy's Harlem Nights. So most of you remember that at one point Miss Rochon was very attractive, and she's beautiful now. She's just heavy. She's not a bad looking woman now. She's still really nice looking, but she's not as slim and curvy as she used to be. So when people put it, the first thing that happened when, first the pictures of Nicole Murphy kissing her husband, Lela Rochon's husband, made the internet. And I guess she, talked to the press and was like, well, this was a friendly kiss. It was just a friendly kiss because I'm friends with their family. Well, they showed the pictures, and yeah, it's not a friendly kiss. And the bad thing is they found other pictures that whoever took the pictures posted, and they're not friendly pictures. These are pictures that basically says we're sleeping together or we're on our way there. So after that, more pictures got posted of Miss Rochon, in recent years. And so, of course, the men in the internet atmosphere began to comment on different pages and talk about how, well, if she'd have kept it tight and kept her weight down, she'd have been able to keep her man, and this, that, and the other. And like I told somebody, you don't know that he's planning on leaving his wife. Okay, number one, I think they just got busted. I don't think that, we don't know that he was planning on leaving his wife for Miss Murphy. All we know is that he cheated on his wife with Miss Murphy. Okay, so, and I will be posting pictures of the kiss. I also will be posting pictures of some of the memes that, the meme that sparked this discussion, which is it okay for a man to leave his wife or cheat on her because she's gained a lot of weight? So from a biblical standpoint, no. I mean, it's really not an excuse. So I went and I also had this information up on YouTube as well. So my response whenever I hear men say that, number one, it sounds really insensitive. But it also takes me back to the things that men, I'm like, now men will sit here and try to drag you through side babies, cheating, jail, rape, domestic violence. Um, it's funny, even in and out of church, because I've heard it both ways. You know, well, shouldn't she keep it together? Well, so should he. And it's funny because one of the pages I follow talked about men who, don't have their girlish figure no more either. And will turn right around and be talking about how she should have kept it together. And I'm like, really? Anyway, so let me see. So I talked about what men, all the hassle, and then I'm like, but if you eat a couple of cheeseburgers and gain like 10 pounds, they ready to immediately run and jump up under or on top of the first woman that they see that has even a little bit of a svelte figure. So I went ahead and did a Bing search, and I looked, and typically when I'm looking for a list that explains different things, I'll go with the top three responses, because those are usually the more credible sites, and all of them seem to confirm, some things. Now I'm going to be posting some slides of, the reasons men cheat. And, when you talk, one site I went to, they'll be from Psychology Today. So the first thing is the excuses that they give. And I thought it was interesting that the doctor talked about these being excuses and being in denial about the real reason that they are cheating. And because the real reason usually has nothing to do with their weight. And it confirmed what I've always said for years, that when people cheat, it's because they're trying to deal with some other issue. When a man, runs around on his wife, or girlfriend or spouse or whatever, they have all kinds of issues that they're dealing with. And cheating is usually about the cheater and not the person being cheated on. So typically, they are never, it's never the, so, and weight is, and to be perfectly honest with you, out of the 3 searches, and I'm going to post that slide too, one of the searches posted weight, and it said this is typically really not the main reason that men cheat. It's really not one of the top reasons that they cheat. It's not weight. Even though they'll use weight as an excuse, it's usually not the number one reason, not even the number one reason why they cheat. So as a single woman, I have, at 53 years, I've had my share of married men try to come on to me. And, I typically, and I'm probably going to do another post about why women, would couple up, because ever since the whole incident with Miss Rashawn's husband, the Brad and Lisa McCoy-McKissick, or Lisa Ray McCoy, actress Lisa Ray McCoy, has come forward and said when she was married to her husband, Nicole Murphy messed around with him too. So this has kind of prompted me, as I was working on this post. I thought about, I'm like, I think I'm going to do a post on reasons why women get involved with married men. So that, because I've never been the other woman, not knowingly, but I've never been the side piece. I've always been the main woman. Even though I've never been married, I've always been the one who was supposed to be in the committed relationship. So I understand what it is to be cheated on. Now, I'm not going to sit over here and make myself seem like Debbie Boone and act like I have never been tempted by anybody else's husband. Because I have. There's some nice looking men out there, and there's some very charming men out there, and some of those men happen to be in committed relationships and married. However, most of my reasons, number one, I was usually in a relationship already and being faithful to the relationship I was in, and really just wanted the person I was involved with to act right with me. But I always find it interesting when people want to come after the other women, and I'm like, every experience that I have had that involved a married man, trying anything was never initiated by me. it's always been initiated by the married man. And I know the common trope is the temptress who lures him away and everything. And, even in the case of this news story, she has a pattern. She comes and she befriends you, and then she, eats dinner with y'all and bees all, whatever. And next thing you know, she's fucking your man. And so I'm like, okay, first of all, if somebody's messing around with your man, it's because your man cheats. Okay? And I'm not saying that I applaud her behavior. I don't believe in her behavior. I don't mess around with married men, because I never want to hurt another woman that way, or any of that other stuff. I just don't believe in it. But one of the things I've been saying here lately to a lot of women is we need to get rid of the notion that another woman is your competition, because they're not. If you're heavy, the slim woman ain't your competition. If you're a dark complected black woman like I am, the light skinned woman, not your competition. If you're a black woman, white women aren't your competition. We need to get to the point where we start looking at men and going, look, you either need to shape up in this relationship or ship the hell out, and in the case of, there is no wives versus hoes within the kingdom of Christ. So it's not wives versus side pieces. We need to stop condemning people to a life of eternal messing around with other people's husbands, because it's usually not that simplistic. You know what I'm saying? This is a woman who, as I've already said, was once married to a famous comedian. She was married to Eddie Murphy, and she was engaged to Michael Strahan at one point. So this is a woman who's been a wife and been, in a relationship where she was almost a wife again. So, this is not your stereotypical side piece, and usually most women aren't. Most women who mess around with married men, and like I said before, I'm going to go ahead and do a bit of a part 2, not really a part 2, maybe an extension, and talk about why women get, involved with men that they know are taken. Because it's always, tempting for people to want to label that woman a hoe and say all these things, and you're a home wrecker. But, what I keep hearing repeatedly out of many men who talk about infidelity, they're like, if your man hadn't opened up that door. Okay? So I'm not saying that Miss Murphy was not at fault. I believe it's wrong to mess around with married men. One of the reasons why I've never gotten involved is because, number one, my relationship goal is marriage. Biblically, adultery is still a sin. I'm not trying to get involved and get drawn into somebody else's sinful behavior. It's not a relationship goal of mine. If I got to be tangled up with your husband, that's preventing me from preparing for one of my own. And I ultimately want one of my own. Many times, and I never thought of a woman being pressured to mess around with somebody else's man until recent events that I have gone through. And I have to say, even then, it's really not an excuse, because you can always feel good about the fact that you haven't slept with him. If you're not interested in him, you're not interested in him. Let men keep holding on to that excuse. Well, if I'm, because men make that excuse. Well, if I'm going to keep being accused of it, well, why not be accused of it and still not do it? You know what I'm saying? It's going to cause pain to that person. If a person is constantly accusing you, they're not accusing you for no reason. Even if it's, they're the ones guilty, which that can be the case, even with women. Okay. But so I have no experience with married men from the standpoint of being involved with one. I do have experience with married men as far as married men hitting on me. And I have to say, even with the people that I know that have been involved with married men, It was usually the married man who did the pursuing. Okay, so that's something that I want to sink in, and I want you to think about. Because we like to, make the other woman the bad guy and act like, well, if she hadn't have been doing this and this is her modus operandi. Okay, but your husband bit. And let me say this much. It isn't, there are many women out there in the world who don't have no boundaries. I mean, this, may be a case of just a woman that doesn't seem to have any boundaries, but your husband bit or your husband pursued. Okay, that's something that, you need to look at. If you're going to be married to somebody, then you need to recognize that many times married men do the pursuing. Most of the cases that I've looked at, it was him doing the pursuing or him doing the hitting in the initial flirting. So, to get past this point, so what do you do in this case? Like, how do you come out of it? One way to cure it or prevent it is communication. Even hard truths. Not very many people, and honesty with self. If another woman is looking good to you, there's a reason why. Just like, if you're starving and you want food, you know why you want certain food. So why if you are just a serial cheater and you haven't been faithful the whole relationship and you just feel like this is what I do because it's available and this is opportunity, okay, well then you know why you're doing that. But also the men who are happily married and because there's degrees when it comes to cheating. There's the guy who cheats, who is a serial cheater. There's also the guy who's been married and been faithful and got several years in. I mean, they can go several years, they can go almost 10 years in and still wind up having an affair. And it wind up being a long-term affair. And that's usually the result of some emotional stuff. But being honest with yourself about why that's looking good to you. And like I said, I'm going to do one on women who, wind up with married men, because there's usually something unmet going on there too. Okay. Taking active steps, my mouth tonight, to make the relationship better. Maybe you've had kids. Maybe, you've both been too busy for each other. It isn't only the wife that gets busy. Maybe the husband needs to help out a little bit more around the house so that the wife doesn't have so much to do and is able to spend time with each other. Therapy. One of the reasons why I don't just advocate therapy because I'm studying to be a future therapist. I advocate therapy. I remember one of my favorite articles in Ladies' Home Journal used to be, "Can This Marriage Be Saved?" And I saw marriages in these articles that were on the brink of death. And once those counselors got done with those people and got them back on the right track, it was like, and I mean, years later, they were still in good shape. So therapy works, whether people feel like it does or doesn't. I think a lot of men are shy because they feel like therapy seems to be more woman-centered, and they won't be able to, they'll get beat up on or whatever. But that's not the purpose for therapy. The purpose for therapy is to have a third person there who's impartial. They're not your pastor. They're not anybody that's got any theological reasons to, side either way. They're not your family members. They're not anybody that has a dog in the fight and has the ability and is looking to pound on either one of you. That's the ideal situation. What they should be helping you do is arrive at very tailor-made results or solutions. That's the word I'm looking for, solutions. Woo. tailor-made solutions that are going to help your situation, because every situation is very unique. There's no one cookie cutter. Even when you read articles about situations and solutions that are meant to help your situation, they'll even advise you need to talk to somebody that's specific for you. I've said in a post in the past, whatever me or anybody else that it specializes in relationships or on a blog tells you, that's a logos word. That's a general word that could apply to whoever is going to apply it. But when you go to the therapist and you're talking to the therapist, that should be rhema, a specific word for your specific situation, from you, for your situation, for you and your partner. That way that you're handling, and that's somebody that you're going to be seeing on a regular basis, so they can, give you exercises to do at home and, get you to communicate better. You'd be surprised. Well, I said communication, but you would be surprised at how communicating your feelings and talking things out with the person that you're involved with gets, because we can get our wires crossed a lot. Okay, accountability. Accountability, kind of, not being afraid to check in. You're not whooped because you call from the club or the bar and tell your wife, we're going out to eat. Do you want anything? Or I'm going to be a little late, or check in, or if nothing else, check in because, you want to make sure that the house ain't burning down or anything like that. Being willing to check in, coming home every night is so important. I can't tell you the number of people that I've seen it on divorce court, but I've also seen it in real life amongst people that I knew. The number of men who don't think it's important to come home every night. I'm like, how do you be married to somebody? And I'm not talking about they're out of town on a business trip, or, somewhere with the boys where their wife knows where they are. I'm talking about men. I'm like, how do you ghost your own wife, your own legally married wife? Not a girlfriend, not a miscommunication, not, she think they were in a relationship and he know they ain't type of situation. This is somebody that agreed to be in a relationship with that person and they still ghost their marriage. And you would be shocked at how many men think it's perfectly normal to disappear for days and their wife don't know where they at. Very unstable. So accountability, which means coming home if you don't have a job that requires you to travel, you need to be home every night. Okay? You need to be home every night. Or your wife or partner need to know where you are. It's not, keeping track. It's not like keeping track of you or letting them know here, okay, I'm 5 minutes away, okay, I'm 10 minutes away. No, that's not somebody, that's a jailer. I'm talking about they know where you are. You are where you say you are. If you are at your friend's house playing cards, they know that if they need you in a case of an emergency, if they need to call you because something's going on with the kids or the house is burning down or some emergency, they can call you up and know that that's where you are, and you're a man of your word. Okay, that's really what accountability is honoring your word and keeping it. And another way is making decisions that benefit the household. And I can't tell you how many people do stuff. And I thought about that earlier today because of some situations that I'm dealing with. How many men out there are what I call monkey wrench men? Now, back in the day, I remember Ice Cube had this song where he called Section 8 women monkey wrench hoes. Now, I wasn't quite sure what he meant by that, and one of these days I might Google it so I can find out exactly what he meant, but I'm going to tell you what I mean by a monkey wrench man. A monkey wrench man is a man who you can have carefully laid plans to achieve a goal within your household, like paying off your credit or making sure to pay your bills on time, getting all of your household finances caught up, so that, whatever, that's just, that's a household go. And they will be the one every time that will do something that will throw a complete monkey wrench in your plans. And I finally said, monkey wrench men are not welcome here. Okay? When you are married, and this is a reoccurring theme for me, and I want it to be a reoccurring theme from every one of my blog posts. When you are married, especially legally married, you are in it together. Ideally, both your names should be on anything that you purchase together. And even if it's not for any legal reasons, the bottom line is you're in it together. And you should be doing everything you can to make decisions that are going to affect that household. Okay? You should be doing things that are going to have a positive effect on your household. I feel, based on examples that I saw growing up, I had some pretty good uncles, pretty good men, good reputation around the community, pretty good character too, pretty solid guys. And one of the things that I got taught from them is how relationships are built from the inside out. The two people that are the most responsible for the marriage working is the two people in the marriage. If you don't respect your marriage, it's very hard to get anybody else to. And I'm not just talking about other women. I'm talking about your friends, your family. People have a tendency, when they don't see that there's a very strong union or a very strong bond there, to do everything they can to challenge it. And, from a theological standpoint, being a born-again Christian, I'm here to tell you now that supernatural warfare does happen. I keep promising these supernatural warfare series, and I think within the next week or so, I'm going to go ahead and do my research and get those particular blog pieces, get those particular podcasts or blog pieces posted, so that you can understand a little bit better how the devil fights couples. Sometimes he can fight you coming together, and I'm talking about, actual people trying to get together and be fought on that side. He also can fight you staying together, and it's usually through misunderstandings, long-standing. That's one of the reasons why I don't like long-standing feuds. Like, I don't like long, drawn-out arguments. That's one of the things I've always hated in a relationship, for that argument that drags out, especially if someone is trying to wear me down and I've already said no to something. So, being able to benefit your household. You're in this together. Nobody else is in this marriage but you, the two of you. Nobody else is in your marriage but the two people that are married to each other. I hope for all intents and purposes, that Miss Rashawn and her husband are able to work things out. And if it comes down to it, if they are, we don't know their whole situation. We don't know if they're already separated. We don't know what their situation is, but we hope but because they have children and because they are a family, I hope above all